Welcome to today's Global Connections program. I'm Bill Miller. Why is it we only read and hear about sometimes bad news such as terrorism, climate change, and the Ebola virus? What's one group doing to cover those issues, but also to promote a discussion about good news? We'll be back in just a moment to talk about these and other important issues. Welcome back to our program. Today we're going to take a look at some really major issues affecting people all around the world, such as climate change, terrorism, war and peace. But we're also going to be taking a look at some good news too. My guest today is an expert in this area. My guest today is Mr. Paul Sladkus. Paul Sladkus is the founder of Good News Planet and the Good News Corporation. He's also formerly involved with CBS and a PBS executive. Mr. Paul Sladkus, welcome to today's Global Connections program.
Great, Bill. Thank you very much. It's a big honor to be here.
I appreciate you being with me. Paul, let's talk about your group. What is the Good News Planet and Good News Corporation?
Okay, well, goodnewsplanet.com is a website that's part of our Milestone Broadcast Corporation. We've had our own company. This is our 30th anniversary this year, 2015. After 14 years with, as you mentioned, CBS and PBS, working on a lot of network national TV shows. Personally, myself, we started a company in 1985 focused on the multicultural communities. It was the Chinese that suggested that we come and help them, work with them and sell some of their advertising for their newspaper and their television. It gave us an office in Chinatown, and we became inch by inch learning grassroots-wise how to do multicultural niche marketing, of which myself personally, as a Hungarian Jewish background, you want to reach my mother, you put an ad in a Hungarian paper and a Jewish paper, and she read it a lot. In any case, so we had this multicultural marketing and advertising agency for a long time. We did real well. Your director of this show, Ken Caleb, he directed an Italian commercial for us and a Chinese commercial over the years, and I met in all these different ethnic communities. I wanted to do that because I always, after my TV experience, I wanted to make worldwide TV shows. So I said if I did something for all these different ethnic communities, maybe they'd let me put my show in their hometown.
Exactly. Why did you want to do worldwide community programs? Programs that would go into these communities?
You know, I wanted to do that because I have, I grew up in the shoe business, but I wanted show business. I was a musician. And I thought my mission was to spread positive life. I went into television show business, let's call it, really because initially All in the Family, that television show to me represented a bigot, and you laughed with the person, you cried with the bigot, but you knew the person was a bigot. So we had a chance to educate ourselves in an entertaining way. So I've always thought that television, this media that you and I are on right now, is very powerful, and it can affect the way people think. You know, people actually think that this stuff is real,
Exactly.
Myself included. But I got a master's degree, and I learned a little bit more, and you still got to follow your own heart.
Exactly, it's very true. And our viewers can go to your website at www.goodnewsplanet.com to get more information about what we're talking about today. Let's talk about a very serious issue, but it's one that I know you have a passion for, and that is peace. And the United Nations General Assembly declared September 21st as the International Day of Peace. Just give us a little overview of what this International Day of Peace is. We're going to go to your video in a few minutes, but just to sort of pave the way, lay the groundwork.
Sure. So for me, I've been fortunate enough to, with our Good News Planet, we also, .com, we have a nonprofit side. Good News Planet and Milestone Broadcast Corporation is a for-profit. Good News Corporation that you mentioned earlier is a 501c3 nonprofit. and we are doing humanitarian work in that regard. One of the areas is world peace. We've been involved with the Vigil for International Day of Peace and Ecology in Central Park for around 14 years. I've been the host and one of the hosts and broadcaster. And the International Day, and that what is program was to strengthen the message of the International Day of Peace, September 21st, which actually evolved in this building 1982 and revitalized in 2002. And so this is a great institution where we physically are actually, and beautiful pictures on the side here of the UN. And you know, all the countries unanimously agreed to have a day for world peace. So we're strengthening that message with the hope that it's not a vote agreement, it's a hands-on, everybody putting down their guns, no violence. Let's try to make September 21st a reality of world peace. And so we're working very hard, and we have some different techniques, and we created what the video is we created we have the Central Park, we did some in Silicon Valley I can mention later, but the video is Times Square. So I was able to get Times Square and create in Times Square the largest human peace sign. And we sang some peace songs, and at 12 noon, which is the time on September 21st that everyone's asked to take a silent devotion, moment of silence for world peace. There's a lot of people connected to this day, and we were able to utilize their comments that they have shared with the world about world peace. We included that into our TV broadcast, and this is like a sizzle reel of it.
Exactly. Well, with that good overview, let's go for a minute and 48 seconds and go to the video and watch it, and we'll come back and talk about it.
Okay.
My name is Ringo. Peace and love, everybody. Peace and love.
I'm Dr. Ross. We have an obligation to provide a peaceful world for our children.
I would say there are so many small things that we can all do to improve our daily lives and the lives of others.
We've got to work much harder, no matter what country, religion, or culture.
Peace is the most precious possession we can achieve. The opposite of peace is the wasting of life, bloodshed, and arriving at no solution whatsoever.
Today is September 21st, the day that all countries of the United Nations declared as International Day of Peace. Today, we strengthen that UN message and have created a Peace Day party event and broadcasting it live to the world, our human peace sign symbol. Let's celebrate each other. Life is a gift. Have a party. Have a Peace Day party. Listen to over 50 nonprofits and individuals who share their thoughts to help educate children.
You're watching the Peace Day, global internet broadcast celebrating the United Nations International Day of Peace.
Please sing along to these well-known peace and love songs with the words on the bottom of the screen.
Moment of silence for peace. I'm going to have my moment now.
Paul, that was excellent. That really gave a good overview of people being involved in working towards peace. We should work towards peace 365 days a year, obviously, but it is good if everybody could take September 21st and do this. What has been the reaction from this, from the participants? You have some really high-powered people, Michael Douglas, Dr. Jane Goodall, both who are members, whether they're messengers of peace for the Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, but what has been the overall reaction and their involvement in this as far as promoting a discussion of peace?
Well, the good news here is that we are one amongst many that are doing something on September 21st. There's people we had a stream of peace kinds of organizations and people doing something from New Zealand all the way to Hawaii on that day. So It's growing and growing and growing. Jeremy Gilley had come into the UN in some 2002, and his Peace One Day. They're out there doing some good stuff. PeaceDay.tv has a 24 hours worth of people doing good stuff. So and a lot of these comments of these celebrity status people, a lot of people are utilizing them. And those wonderful people are open to help continue to promote world peace and lend their name to it. So I say it's all good, and we're getting more and more excited for the part that we're going to do this year, September 21st. If people can go to peacedayparty.org, and it's not what we're going to do, it's hopefully what we are all going to do together. We can have a party, a Peace Day. We're working towards achieving world peace literally on that day. If we can get one day, maybe we get 2 days, and if we can get it in the areas that aren't peaceful and are violent, and we can get a message. And I'm sort of like a party guy, and I think that through a party means we're talking to major chefs of every country, and if they can come up with a nice menu, and people can either feed somebody bread or water. We know, just the basic essentials are problematic already, and to begin with. But if somebody can figure out, and we're going to associate with some major organizations that are helping to feed people. So I'm a believer we can do this.
Now, you mentioned Achieving World Peace. Is that not the title of your new book? It's going to be out in the not too distant future? And
yes.
If it is, what is the book about?
It's about achieving world peace. It's called Good News, Achieving World Peace, September 21st. It's in essence the first time I ever wrote a book, and it's a lot of thoughts about what we have done so far to strengthen the message of world peace and what people can do for their consideration. We have some ideas of joining in different ways within there, and it's sort of like almost has some history of why got involved with it, but it also talks about some of the events that are happening worldwide and that we've been connected to and other people have been connected to. And plus I use music in there, and I have songs, because we sing songs, and those similar songs will use the words of those songs. They're in the book as well, and we hopefully will have that finished. We're in January, so the final edit should be actually this week, and we'll see if we can get it out in February.
Now, what is your website, peacedayparty.org? What's that about?
Well, that is the the update on the latest information about what we have done and what we plan to do. It's a good resource. It has a place where you can participate, which is really what we would prefer. We have some sponsorship donations opportunities for people to help us with some financial. All the money will go towards making this World Peace Day occur. And we have a fairly, at this moment, significant venues from Silicon Valley, which is an event out in San Jose we did last year called Amanda's Network. It's an existing event for anti-bullying and cyberbullying. And the Central Park again, and Times Square again, and now we're looking at downtown Brooklyn and maybe Barclays Stadium to do a big concert and broadcast that too. We'll try our best.
Well, you're watching Global Connections Television, which is an independently produced program. The opinions expressed on Global Connections are solely those of the moderator and his guest. Today we're taking a look at really serious topics such as war and peace and others, but we're also looking not only at the negative side, but also at the good news side of these issues. My guest today is someone who's worked diligently in this area. My guest today is Mr. Paul Sladkus. Mr. Sladkus is the founder of Good News Planet and Good News Corporation. Formerly, he was with CBS and PBS. Paul, we're talking about peace and how important it is, and it truly is for everybody. I think back to September 21st, and there was a lot of activity here at the United Nations. Secretary General on or near that day, maybe not always on that exact day, rings the peace bell. Tell us a little bit about that ceremony and what is the significance of the peace bell.
Well, I'm not an employee over here.
No,
but,
true, nor am I.
Over the years, but I'm a believer in the United Nations. And And so I have spent many a moment, either for Peace Day or for Earth Day here, the Earth Day in March, Tamacano Earth time, that's day, the equinox day, ringing a bell that was donated, I believe, by Japan. And so it was a ceremony. I've filmed it over the years, and I know we, the United Nations, I'll say, because we're all part of everything in essence anyway. And then the church across the street, there's some functions that go on. And so we're just, you know, a lot of people doing good things. I think it's always important with our good news mindset, life-affirming, positive, upbeat, not beat-up thought. Most of the world is peaceful, thank God. Because if it wasn't peaceful, we'd really have headaches. It would be a real mess.
Or be injured or dead.
Yeah, you know. So I like to look at life in a positive mindset. That let's celebrate peaceful people, which is by far, no one can say that it's not the majority of the world. It is the majority of the world. And let's try to figure out how to hug or to hold those that are confused enough to hurt you.
Mm-hmm. There's another issue that's getting a lot of publicity because it's been with us, but for some reason it's getting much more of a focus on it, and that is bullying. We talk about, and this applies a lot, mostly to younger people, but you've done a very interesting video segment on that, and I think what we'll do is go to the video, listen to it for about 37 seconds, and come back and talk about it and see how this bullying issue ties into what we're talking about. But let's go to the video.
Sure.
Well, it's important because, you know, we're targeting the kids, and we want the kids to be successful in their life. And we want them to be the ones also coming to our games and with the smiles on their faces. And, you know, we just want to be that positive influence of coming out here and showing them that there's somebody that cares. So, you know, that's why it's important for us to teach these character traits when we come in and do our cheer program and things like that.
Well, the self-esteem program, the cheer program, ties into a lot of the things that we do here at Jefferson with our core values and our anti-bullying program. When kids learn about self-esteem, it helps them throughout the day and in their lives.
Paul, that was very interesting. How did you go from International Day of Peace, not that you went to it directly, but how did you bring bullying into this whole concept? It's a very important problem, but why did you decide to do it?
Well, I decided because actually we had 60, and when you go to peacedayparty.org, you'll see 60 organizations and celebrities that were connected to this event. That I did roll-ins, you know, being a TV producer character. Mm-hmm. You know, I got a segment from this one and that one. Before that, there was a David Lynch one where he's getting people to do transcendental meditation. And I just saw them Saturday, the Harlem Globetrotters. You can't beat the Harlem Globetrotters, especially for the young people. Our event is focused on children. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of the organizations that were connected to our Peace Day event are children's organizations. And not that the Globetrotters are all children, but they do a phenomenal job, and ANT and their outreach into schools, of which they even have, and they have something, we own a Happy Face with arms and legs. They have a Globee, and they're a global organization. They're going to be connected and involved with us again, the Globetrotters. And it's such a healthy organization. But bullying is one of their missions. And so, you know, there's so many things that involve in the world of peace. You know, if you can't eat, it's hard to be peaceful too. So, but bullying is an important one. And when that concert or the event we did in Silicon Valley was entirely for bullying, because a girl got bullied to the point that she committed suicide. So it's some serious stuff here when people aren't being peaceful or nice to each other.
Exactly. And of course, our viewers can go to www.goodnewsplanet.com and get more information about what we're talking about today. When we're talking about bullying, well, just as a last comment on it, I was thinking a frequent guest who's been on the show twice now, Peter Yarrow of Peter, Paul, and Mary, is very interested in bullying. He's focused a lot of his attention and resources on it. Other groups like the UN Foundation, I think, are concerned about it. Do you team up with these folks and other groups? You mentioned 60 groups. Are those some of them that you might be working with?
Yeah, great. Peter Yarrow's Operation Respect organization is in the show. you know, a roll-in into the show, and I interviewed Peter, and Peter's been involved with many projects. I'm wearing a pin that Yoko Imagine Peace, Yoko Ono gave to us at an International Universal Day of Peace, where we talk about the Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and Peter's been involved with that for all over the years. In also the program, we have the UN Foundation. You know, Ted Turner's helped so much in the world doing good things, and their segment was the UN peacekeepers, and those UN peacekeepers are heroes, and we're honored to be able to share the good things that they're doing as a roll-in into this program. So I had 60 roll-ins. It's a long, it's a 2-hour show, and there's a lot of celebrities, a lot of great organizations doing real good things, as we all know.
Exactly.
And it's on that peacedayparty.org.
Exactly, and there's so much happening at the United Nations that we never read about. You mentioned peacekeepers. There's 16 peacekeeping missions right now that are helping to maintain peace and stability in some very dangerous areas of the world. But there are other services we get from the United Nations, like helping to move aircraft and ships and mail and weather information safely around the world. We who fly internationally or send mail or perhaps take a cruise in the Mediterranean or the Caribbean or wherever it might be depend upon these UN agencies, but we don't hear much about them. That brings up a whole issue. You're in the media, I'm in the media. How do you see the American media as covering the United Nations? Now, the UN is not perfect. It has imperfections. You bring 193 governments together, you're going to have challenges. But how do you perceive it as an objective critic standing outside the fence?
You know, I'm a believer in the UN, and every time I see something in the media about the UN, whether it's they're dealing with the climate conditions, a special session on that, or they've realized some other wonderful ways that we can live our lives better. You know, it's a tough media world out there in general. It's very focused on whatever they feel their specific mission is. You know, even the greatest, you know, the most respected media, you know, the New York Times and the Wall Street Journals, and, you know, and in this town, and the network television, which are all wonderful. You know, you know, the bottom line, as far as I feel, is that the United Nations doesn't get doesn't receive enough kudos, okay, for the good that they do. Everybody here is on the good page, and with a good you know, reason to be here, and in my observation, and it's good to support that, and to whatever degree. You know, we all want peace, I believe. You know, some people say we don't, some don't. But I think down in the hearts of everybody, we all want to. And I think we also know what the difference is between right and wrong. We do know that hitting somebody in the head is right, and hugging somebody is a much nicer thing to do.
It certainly is. And of course, we look at the United Nations. You don't want to give any organization a pass. I mean, if the UN is doing something that needs to be reported, be it positive or negative, it should be reported. But there is an argument that the media could report a few more positive things about what's going on at the UN, because the UN does touch our lives every day, and we just do not realize it. I'm thinking of the media people I've dealt with over the years, and so many of them, they have this maxim. They say, good news doesn't sell. Bad news sells newspapers. Is that true?
Well, you know, financially, I might be right, but
may be correct.
In my own personal case, but I really haven't worked hard to go and, I don't know, focus on. I'm a showaholic, because I'm a peopleaholic, and people are doing good, and I want to try to continue to create that content. If I had more money in the company, and we're getting close to some major investment, I think what we have created, this positive, life-affirming, thought-provoking content, can be equally as good as a network television, and can be presented equally as good as network television, was as big as celebrities as network television has. And what would be good in my mind then was that network television would sway a little more over to sharing more good. I think that, having been a network guy along 14 years, the only one thing they could do, and we're not looking for any monopoly on good. We want good to be everywhere. is to give a few solutions of what some people are doing to deal, as you started with Ebola. They do that, but do it when you hit you over the head with the story, right then and there. And here's some good news what people are doing or trying to do. Because if you hit people over the head in the media world, bang, 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 by the time you finish, how can you go to bed and how can you wake up? So I think it would be better if they could give some solutions. That's
exactly,
my thought.
And that's what you try to do with goodnewsplanet.com, focusing on solutions and how you need to look at not only the negative side of an issue, but the positive side. And there are positive things going on. You mentioned Ebola in some of the Western African countries. They're making great progress. And one or two others are not doing quite as well as they would like to do, but the point is that the effort is being made, and it's very important that we learn about these issues, and we need to keep our perspective too. We need to maintain a balance and realize that the United Nations is not a perfect organization, but as Madeleine Albright, the former Secretary of State, said, it is indispensable, and even with all its warts and imperfections, we have to have the United Nations. But Paul Sladkus, I want to thank you so very much for a very interesting and a very informative program.
All right, thank you very much, Bill. You're doing a great job, and I've watched many of your shows, and I've learned quite a lot from them.
Well,
thank you very much.
Appreciate it. I'm Bill Miller. Thank you for joining us on today's Global Connections program.